This is my first time doing this, so I'm trying to figure out if I need to just talk and then cut out the parts that don't work in order to make this thing make sense. Bear with me. Today I'm going to be reviewing Wolfhound Century by Peter Higgins. Wolfhound Century is an interesting book. It kind of focuses on an alternate universe Russia. It's Russia, but it's not Russia. The thing about the alternate universe is that it kind of feels like you have a unit of condominiums and you go next door, the walls and the floor layout are kind of the same, but they've got different furniture and different things hanging off the walls, and they also, water the plants more than you do. And you have an agent called Vissarion Lom who has to go to Mirgorod. He's been pulled in by a superior who wants him to investigate, but knows that he's free of the corruption that kind of surrounds everybody else in his agency. As this investigator goes around and searches through all these things, there's all this weird stuff that is just happening. There's this thing called the Pollen Door, and it's never really defined what it is. Certain parts of it are explained, but it's not fully explained. The characters are actually seeking it out and searching for it, but we're not sure the full reasons why. There's also some nature forces that are the embodiment of wind. There's a thing made out of twigs. Throughout the book are various descriptions of things like golems, these inanimate soldier troop beings who have actually been imbued with life. They're made of iron and they walk around and they assist the fellow KGB soldiers. They're dumb, but they follow instructions. There's also these creatures that are referred to as angels, and we still don't fully know what they are. People are described as having angel stone in various parts of their body. Vissarion Lom has one on his head. So there's this kind of weird conflict going on between these sort of extraterrestrial or otherworldly beings known as the angels, and then sort of the earthly beings, which are much more the nature of the earth, or a Mother Nature kind of feel. It feels really dreamy. It doesn't quite feel real, but at the same time, it feels real simply because it's so close to being real. I was completely sold from the beginning. The writing is incredibly fantastic. The descriptions are wonderful. Peter Higgins has a great use of language, especially when creating this kind of vague, foggy universe and this story. It feels layered with some type of mythology that I know nothing about. It's Russian mythology, but it's made up Russian mythology. But I have no way of knowing if it's Russian mythology because it's not Russia. The thing about detective stories, especially one like this, is that, well, it has a detective feel. A lot of science fiction and fantasy have been featuring that lately, and, there's Empire State by Christopher Priest. There's a few others, and I can't remember what they are for the life of me. Recent examples include Empire State by Christopher Priest, Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey, and The City in the City by China Mieville. These are all stories that kind of do the detective thing. They send a detective out, he runs into fantastical circumstances, and often I find that these characters are really undefined. They're kind of supposed to be because they themselves need to be consumed by the case, the important things that happen in the case. And so they don't spend a lot of time focused on what they do in their personal lives, other than the fact that they either can't pay rent or are just kind of miserable and dour to begin with. If he could come home and not think about the case, it would suggest that the story isn't worth following or pursuing. It's probably why we don't see a lot of fiction about, bylaw enforcement officers. Somebody parks their car, they get a ticket. Oh my gosh, my soul is so racked by that. I need to find out who this guy who parked his car was. This book is not a complete whole. It actually has a number 1 right on the spine. There's also the second book right on the back, Truth and Fear. For some reason I thought it was going to be a completely self-enclosed story, start to finish, but this thing actually looks like it's going to be a trilogy. The Baroque Cycle by Neil Stephenson is 3 hardcover books, but was published as 9 paperback books. So it's not wrong to do that, to divide a story up into those smaller pieces. Nevertheless, for some reason, this thing just felt kind of incomplete. It gets to the end, and you're left hanging a little bit. Yeah, I want to read the next one, but I really wanted a little bit more to wrap up, considering some of the big ideas this book kind of gets through. But if anything, for me, the ending of this story is really, really abrupt. It sort of just cuts off. There is an ending, and it's actually it's really neat. There's some really cool stuff happening in the ending, but because of the big things that this story is hinting at, it all feels rather small. It doesn't quite pay off, and I kind of wish it did. There's a song in The Saint that actually sounds like it's Russian, or at least I thought it was like Russian techno. It turns out that it's Moby, and I just did not know it. Yep, Moby. complete ignorance about Russia. I think I'm running out of steam. I have no more thoughts. Go and think your own thoughts.